Welcome everybody to the first video of Music Essentials. Today we're going to be talking about reading rhythms and the basic elements of rhythm. Before we talk about that, we first have to talk about some terminology. We have two words that are sometimes people think are the same thing, but they're a little bit different, and that is beat and rhythm. So first we'll talk about beat. The beat is the steady pulse in the music. I like to think of the beat as either your heartbeat or even a ticking clock where it's just steadily keeping a pulse throughout. That's the beat. Next we have the rhythm, and the rhythm adds to that. The rhythm is the value of each note and how those work together to create a song. So we have the beat, that is the underlying pulse of the music, and then the rhythm that comes from the notes. The next thing that we'll talk about really briefly in this video, and we'll cover more in the next video, is time signatures. At the beginning of the piece, you'll have a time signature, and it kind of almost looks like a fraction, where you have two numbers, one on top of the other. For the purposes of this video, we're going to talk about note values in the context of a 4/4 time signature. That basically means that there are 4 beats in every measure. All right, so let's dive in with the rhythms and note values. If you've looked at music before, you've probably seen that there's lots of different dots and stems that make up the notes. And these dots and stems all have a purpose, okay? They show us the length that you're supposed to play or hold a note or sing if you're singing. First we'll talk about a quarter note. A quarter note gets 1 beat. Next we have a half note. A half note gets 2 beats. After that, we have a whole note, and a whole note gets 4 beats. So if we have a measure in 4/4 time, where there's 4 beats in a measure, we might have 1 whole note lasting the whole measure, or 2 half notes, each 2 beats, or you could have 4 quarter notes, or you can have a combination of these different elements in each measure. Now there are also smaller divisions, lower than a quarter note. Next we have an 1/8 note, and an 1/8 note is half a beat. And you can go lower than that to 16th notes or 32nd notes. For the purposes of this video, we'll go from an 1/8 note up to a whole note, and all of those in between. So we have, going from the top to the bottom, you have a whole note, that's 4 beats. Half note is 2 beats. A quarter note is 1 beat, and an 1/8 note is half a beat. And here we have a chart to help you visualize what that looks like and how those can break down into smaller divisions of the note. So for this next part, I thought I would show you some rhythms taken from the natural way we speak. Every word we say and every phrase has a natural rhythm to it. In this image here, we see some words that have been written out as rhythms. If you speak these words, you'll notice they have the natural rhythm, and we have the notes that are written next to it. So first you have lockdown. Next is quarantine, pandemic, toilet paper, flattening the curve, I need a hug. Those are just a fun way to look at rhythms and how they are notated in our normal speech. Next, we will be looking at some rhythms in an exercise that we'll do together where we clap out the rhythms. All right, here we go. We're going to do this activity together. All you need are your 2 hands, and we'll clap these rhythms as they appear at the bottom of your screen. So here's the first one, and I'll demonstrate what we'll be doing. So as we count in music, we'll just count to 4 in each measure, 1, 2, 3, 4, clapping the beat, but we keep counting through the whole thing. So for this first example, it would look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's try it all together. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. If you need to practice that again, go ahead and rewind. Otherwise, we'll go ahead onto our next one. This time we'll just jump right in together. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great, did you get it? If not, go ahead and try it again. Otherwise, we'll try another one. Here's our third example. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 1 and 2, 3 and 4. A little bit trickier with the eighth notes in there. So as you can see, the quarter note gets 1 beat, a half note gets 2 beats, a whole note gets 4 beats, and an eighth note gets half of a beat. Let's try one more together. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Good. So those are just some practice examples. I challenge you as you're looking at music that you have to look and see what the notes are, the values of the notes, how long each note is it a half note, is it a whole note, is it a quarter note? And now you know the basic note values. Now the next thing that we're going to talk about in this is related to what we just talked about. The next thing we're talking about are rests. In music, the notes that we just talked about indicate when to play. Similarly, in music, we have rests to show us when not to play. These are just as important, and in fact, they're sometimes more important. And so it's necessary to know the length and the values of these rests just as much as it is to know the value of the notes. So first, we'll start at the top. You have a whole rest. This is a rest that lasts for the full measure or 4 beats. Next, we have a half rest. This lasts for 2 beats. Now, before we go on, let's look at these two together. You'll notice that they're very similar, but there's just something a little bit different about them. The whole rest goes below the line, and the half rest goes above the line. And there's a fun way to help you remember this so you'll never forget. A whole rest goes below the line like a hole in the ground. A half rest goes above the line and it looks like a hat, and hat sounds a little bit like half. So under the line is a whole rest and above the line is a half rest. Next we have a quarter rest, which is 1 beat, and then lastly we have an eighth rest, and this is for half of a beat. So like we showed before, the little breakdown of the note values, here's a breakdown of rest values. As you can see here, this goes down and down, going from a whole rest being 4 beats, half rest 2 beats, a quarter rest being 1 beat, and eighth rest being half of a beat. And just like with the note values, you can also go lower. You can break it down even farther into 16th notes or 32nd notes. All right, so now that we know about rests, we're going to go back to the same activity we were doing before, where you see the rhythm at the bottom of your screen. And this time we're going to add in some rests. As you're doing this, we'll still count all 4 beats in the measure, but when you have a rest, instead of clapping, you'll go out like this with your hands. I'll show you an example. Here's the first example. Here we have, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's try it together. Remember, clapping on the notes, going out like this on rests, and counting each beat together. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Here again, we're just dealing with quarter rests as we count. Ready? 1, 2, Ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. So that's the basics for this video. Just to summarize, we talked about the different note values. From the largest to the smallest, we have a whole note being 4 beats, a half note being 2 beats, a quarter note being 1 beat, and an eighth note being half of a beat. And then similarly, we have rests. We have a whole rest, which is 4 beats, and again, that goes under the line. A half rest, which is 2 beats, and that goes above the line. A quarter rest, which is 1 beat, and an eighth rest, which is half of a beat. If you'd like to review, go ahead and go back to the exercises that we did. Otherwise, we'll meet you in the next video.